Hey everybody, welcome back. Time for the third video in my end of season series ranking the best players on the Seahawks in 2022. This is the number 9 spot. Number 10 belonged to Damian Lewis. Now we move on to my number 9. This is another one that I think there will be a little bit of controversy behind. Some people will strongly disagree. Some people will say he should be an honorable mention. Some people will say he shouldn't be on the list, period. But I think that if you listen to my argument over the course of this whole video, you guys will at least understand, even if you don't necessarily agree. So let me know what you guys think about this when you're done with it. But I'm putting this Seahawks player at number 9 on the top 10 list. So hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy the discussion. And we're going to be moving on to number 8 tomorrow. All right, here at number 9, we have another one that might be a little controversial, although I don't know. I think most Seahawks fans are pretty on board with this guy. It's Charles Cross, the left tackle. And some people are going to say, well, Charles Cross really wasn't that good this year. And those people have a point. Overall, I would say that Cross was a plus player, but it's not that big of a plus. It might be like one of those tiny little pluses where, yeah, he's better than the average left tackle in the NFL, but he's not quite yet to that point where overall you can say he's good. However, there are some other things going on here because everything is ultimately kind of put on a curve. Everything is situational. Everything kind of scales. And when it comes to Charles Cross, there are a lot of things to consider. First of all, he's playing left tackle, the most important position on the offensive line, and generally speaking, the hardest position to play on the offensive line. He is protecting the quarterback's blind side. He is the guy protecting Geno Smith from getting hit from the side where he can't really see it coming. So, left tackle in almost any offense is going to be the hardest and most important position on the line. And Charles Cross, while he wasn't great, and maybe at times you could say wasn't even good, was above average at that. And he spent most of this season as a 21-year-old. And that is the thing I really want to stress here. I see the occasional little bit of negativity about Charles Cross. He's just turned 22. He turned 22 like a month and a half ago. So he spent most of his rookie year as a 21-year-old. And right from the jump, that first game of the year, he's playing against a guy like a Bradley Chubb, one of the better edge rushers in the league. He's going up against what the Niners got, their super elite pass rush in week 2. So Charles Cross had to jump into the fire a little bit there, and he did his thing. He did his job. If you go over to PFF, you can see that his grade was about 64 on the year. And one thing that I find to be really, really encouraging is that his pass block grade and his run block grade were almost the same. And watching the games, I never got the sense that Charles Cross was bad at run blocking. I always kind of got the sense that he was doing fine. And remember, when he got drafted, that was the knock. The knock against Charles Cross was, he can't run block because he played in the air raid offense at Mississippi State. When I looked at what he did in college, I saw a guy who could run block. He just didn't do it that often. So far in the NFL, that's mostly bared out. He's done fine as a run blocker. So he's a well-balanced player at this point, which I think is really encouraging. This guy is going to get much better over the next couple years as he gets older. He gets more experience. And that's another thing about Charles Cross in 2022 that I really want to point to here. The experience. With the exception of, I think, 2 snaps in garbage time against the Cardinals where we were taking knees, he played every single snap. Even Abe Lucas didn't do that. Damian Lewis didn't do that. Those guys missed at least a couple important snaps. Those guys missed a game and a half. Tariq Woolen missed a few snaps this year. Mike Jackson missed some snaps this year. You go down the list and you can find players that were maybe snap by snap better than Cross. But Cross is always out there giving you plus play. Every game, every snap. The only time he sat out a play this year was literally garbage time where we just put in Stone Forsythe because we felt like it. So you put all that together, and I feel pretty good about putting Charles Cross at number 9 on the list. He did allow a pretty healthy number of pressures, but if you average it out, it's less than 3 a game. And he's the blindside protector. It's much harder for him to prevent QB pressures than somebody like Abe Lucas, who's on the right side. So I feel like Charles Cross deserves it. This is another one that I think I'm going to get some comments on, people saying, he shouldn't be top 10. He should be honorable mention. He was good, but he wasn't great. And there were definitely some bad moments with him. And there were. But it's not completely just about what happened in 2022. It's also about how do things look now. Remember, we thought, now this isn't the case now, but we thought when we drafted Charles Cross, this is the crown jewel of the Russell Wilson trade. We thought Charles Cross was going to be the top guy that we got out of that trade. Now, as it turns out, that's not the case. Denver was so bad this year, we're actually going to pick in the top 5 this upcoming draft. But at the time, Cross was your crown jewel. And for him to come out this year, play every snap, be above average, be stable, not get completely blown up all the time and give up, double-digit sacks or not pick up double-digit penalties, that's huge. There was a time when some people started to suspect that the Seahawks were going to use the Charles Cross pick on Trevor Penning. And there was a real sense of doom and gloom in the fandom over that one because, quite frankly, most Seahawks fans did not like Trevor Penning. I was certainly among them. I didn't like him at all. And if we traded the greatest quarterback the Seahawks have ever had and then turned around and used the primary asset on a player like Trevor Penning, I think you would have seen some Seahawks fans decide to renounce their fandom. But instead, you go get a guy who most people were on board with, most people liked Cross, and even if you didn't like Cross, you have to acknowledge the job that he's done this year. It's been, at the very least, above average, and given all the things he's working against, like, just as an example, the blindside protection, playing as a 21-year-old in the NFL. Remember, maybe at the very top of the draft you see things like that fairly often, but you don't usually see 21-year-old left tackles starting day one like this. And for him to hold up and not embarrass himself and actually play above average, I think is actually really good. And to the people out there who seem to believe that Charles Cross is what he is, I don't understand that. Clearly, Charles Cross will get much better next year and the year after, maybe even the year after that. He is a long way away from his peak. Abe Lucas is more than 2 years older than Cross, and I think most people think Abe Lucas is going to get better. So Charles Cross should be able to get better too. He's got the size to add some weight, bulk up a little bit if he needs to. Same with Abe Lucas. So if he feels like he needs to do that, hit the weight room a little bit, put on extra muscle, that should be trivial for him to do. But the product we got in 2022 was good, and given the degree of difficulty, I think Charles Cross deserves to be number 9. And just like Damian Lewis, I think there are going to be some people who disagree with this because Cross didn't blow anyone's socks off. But I think when you put the whole argument together, when you put everything together with a guy like a Charles Cross, it makes sense to give him a top 10 spot. Let me know what you guys think, though. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this one. I'm a big Cross fan. I'm very excited to see where this goes in 2023 and beyond. But he is number 9 on my list of top 10 Seahawks in 2022.